This video will be all about Panama's imports and exports.
Shout to all my lost boys. Shout to all my lost boys. We rowdy. Shout to all
I'm hurting, baby. I'm broken down. I need your loving, loving. I need it now. When I'm without you, I'm something weak. You got me begging, begging. I'm on my knees. I don't wanna be needing your love. I just wanna be deep in your love. And it's killing me when you're away. Oh, baby, 'cause I really don't care where you are.
Banana production in Panama. Banana production in Panama has traditionally played an important role in the Panamanian economy since around the turn of the 20th century. Bananas were the leading export item and in 1985 accounted for 23% of total exports. In that year, the Cherokee Land Company, a subsidiary of United Brands, produced 70% of all bananas, followed by private Panamanian producers and the state-owned Corporación Bananera del Atlántico. The volume of bananas produced in Panama peaked in 1978 and slowly declined in the 1980s. Observers doubted that United Brands would expand its production in Panama because bananas could be produced more cheaply in Costa Rica and Ecuador. The history of banana production in Panama virtually coincides with that of United Brands, which has been in Panama since 1899. The company built railroads, port facilities, and storage areas for the processing and export of bananas. In the 1930s, a disease seriously curtailed banana production. In the 1950s, disease-resistant plants were developed and production increased rapidly. In the early 1970s, a banana war erupted when banana-producing countries disagreed among themselves and with United Brands about an export tax on bananas. Panama threatened to take over United Brands plantations. An agreement was reached in 1976 to tax banana exports. In that year, the tax provided the government with 10 million US dollars, nearly 4% of all revenues. In addition, United Brands sold all 43,000 hectares of land that it owned in Panama to the government. Payment was in tax credits. The government leased back to United Brands over 15,000 hectares for banana production and export operations. Part of the excess land went to the government's newly established banana companies. Beer. In 1939, the production of the four factories for the domestic market avoid unfair competition and seek to reduce production and distribution costs, where shareholders of three existing companies met together to agree on the union and to found a new company that will be called the Cervecería Nacional S.A. The new company continued to produce Atlas Beer, Milwaukee Brew Beer, HB Beer, Balboa Special, and Balboa Pilsener. After the union, other new beers were put on the market with brands Guaymay Beer, Barrilito Tap Beer, Champiel, and Maximalta. In 1955 was closed the National Brewery in Colon and all production was concentrated in the factory of Panama City. The first 1,000 cases of beer Balboa export reached New York City in 1959. In 1958, a new stage of Panama beer history when Mr. Joaquin Vallarino Jr., Eric Del Valle, and a group of businessmen had the idea of creating a new regional brewery in the city of David in the Chiriquí province, bordered to the Republic of Costa Rica. This project initially rejected by the board of the Cervecería Nacional, was developed by a Danish company called Anton Petersen and Henius Limited. These investors plus local and Panama Coke inaugurated the Cervecería Barrio S.A. on June 1959, which begins production with a modest initial capacity of 10,000 hectoliters per year. It went to market with the Cerveza Cristal Pilsener and 6 months after with the Panama Beer Lager, thereby breaking the 20 years national brewery monopoly in the beer market. In 1968, the National Brewery established in David, Chiriquí region a new brewery called Cervecería Chiriquí S.A. in order to be more competitive in the whole region. It brewed your own brand's Chiriquí Lager and a few years after the Dorada Light. As an answer, Cervecería Baru S.A. agreed with a local company and again the Danish company Anton Petersen and Henius Limited to build in Panama City a new brewery. The new Cervecería Panama was inaugurated in January 1971 and in 1972 it put on the market two new products, Soberana beer and Super Malta. In 1978, Cervecería Panama anticipates the Cervecería Nacional, introducing Panama beer in aluminum cans, the first beer can in the market. The Cervecería Nacional in the 80s brewed under license Lorenbrau German beer and pulls out two beers limited edition of only 1,200 bottles with the brand Istmena in two types, Pilsen and Bock. The Cervecería Barro in 1985 began an alliance that lasted many years with Artun Guinness Son and Company, starting to produce beer Guinness Stout in Panama City plant. In 1987, the Cervecería Barro S.A. and the Cervecería Panama S.A. merged to cut costs and consolidate into a single name, Cervecería Barro Panama S.A. Also, they started exporting beer Panama to the market state of California, USA, suspending it in 1988 for the political crisis. It restarted to export in 1996 to the United States, having exclusive distribution with Schooling Brewery Co. and Cincinnati, Ohio. The National Brewery Group Incorporated is purchased in December 2001 by the Grupo Empresarial Bavaria. This took control of the company in January 2002. The brands that are still made are Balboa, Atlas, Balboa Ice, Gold Bass, and Malta Vigor. Grupo Empresarial Bavaria tried to buy also the Barro Panama Group, but it was not approved by the Panamanian government to avoid a monopoly. In 2002, the Cervecería Barro Panama started brewing German beer Warsteiner, and also with the distribution of Mexican beers Tecate, Dos XX, and Sol. In October, the Dutch brewery Heineken NN and its partner Florida Ice and Farm Co. of Costa Rica acquired control of the company. In 2003, domestic production was consolidated in the city of Panama. David plant was closed and continued with the production of beers Panama, Soberana, Warsteiner, and Super Malta. In 2005, the National Brewery Incorporated becomes part of the SAB-Miller Group when the Grupo Empresarial Bavaria merged with Anglo-South African Group. Gold. The only metallic mine operating in Panama is Petaquilla Minerals Molejon, epithermal gold deposit on the Ley 9, 1997, property in Panama in Colon Province. The mine has the capacity to produce 100,000 ounces per year. Petaquilla Minerals acquired 100 ownership of the Molejon epithermal gold deposits on the Ley Petaquilla property in Panama, where the company focused almost all its investment during the year through its new gold properties subsidiary Petaquilla Gold S.A. Inment and Tech Cominco retained only royalty rights on any eventual production from gold deposits located within the Lake Pataquilla property. By sometime in 2008, Pataquilla Minerals expected to achieve the company's first production of gold at Molejon. Refined petroleum. According to atlas.media.mit.edu, the top export product of Panama is refined petroleum. Oil refinery or petroleum refinery is an industrial process plant where crude oil is processed and refined into more useful products such as petroleum naphtha, gasoline, diesel fuel, asphalt base, heating oil, kerosene, and liquefied petroleum gas. Oil refineries are typically large, sprawling industrial complexes with extensive piping running throughout, carrying streams of fluids between large chemical processing units. In many ways, oil refineries use much of the technology of and can be thought of as types of chemical plants. The crude oil feedstock has typically been processed by an oil production plant. There is usually an oil depot at a near an oil refinery for the storage of incoming crude oil feedstock as well as bulk liquid products. An oil refinery is considered an essential part of the downstream side of the petroleum industry.
I'm hurting, baby. I'm broken down. I need your loving, loving. I need it now. When I'm without you, I'm something weak.
Packaged medicaments. Panama's medicine market. In a sector worth $307 million a year, 10% of the market is supplied by laboratories in the Panamanian capital, and the remaining 90% by the international pharmaceutical companies. The biggest challenge faced by domestic enterprises are the obstacles in importing raw materials, skilled labor, and delays in the registration process, among other things. This makes the domestic industry less competitive compared with international laboratories which bring into the country finished products or those ready for packaging. Pharmaceutical companies believe that the Panamanian Department of Pharmacies and Drugs at the MOH should allow a single registration to be made for imported materials, valid for several years, rather than carrying out the process every time the product comes in. The pharmacy market in Panama is more than 700 small pharmacies who are still struggling to survive against the competitive advantages of the big chains and supermarkets. Most of them form the National Union of Pharmacy Owners, whose president Orlando Perez acknowledged that supermarkets and large pharmacy chains represent strong competition for the small-scale places, seeing the sale of drugs as a business rather than a social service for their communities. The employer states that in the medium and long term small pharmacies will disappear, while the medium-sized and those that are associated with each other may remain operational. Moreover, groups are already being formed to supply medicines at affordable prices to enable them to overcome the issue of the 20% discount that must be given to pensioners without receiving anything in return. Meanwhile, among the larger businesses in the market in Aroca, which with only 15 branches, it is one of the leading importers and distributors in the country. Grupo Rey Pharmacies has joined with supermarket chains Supermercados Rey and Romero and in 2011 acquired Farmacias Metro y Iconio Farmacias with 57 drugstores, while its competitor Super 99 has 39 pharmacies, one in every supermarket in the chain. Neither the large chain pharmacies such as Aroca Pharmacies nor international franchisee such as Pharma Plus, nor the supermarkets are partnered with Unprofa.
Didn't they tell us don't rush into things? Didn't you flash your brain?